Hi there, it's Mr. Smith. In this video, I will be going over the syllabus for this semester in our college algebra course. Of course, this is the course that's linked with DMAT 0315. It's the co-requisite course, meaning we're basically going to cover intermediate and beginning algebra along with college algebra. So let's see, contacting your instructor. So normally instructors will get back to you within 24 hours at Brookhaven, and I'm actually much quicker than that most of the time, but every once in a while an email will slip through, so please email me if it's longer than that. It shouldn't happen very often, but it does occasionally happen. Let's see. Contact information for me. You can see my name here is Scott Smith. Notice Scott is spelled with one T. So you can call me Mr. Smith, or you can call me by my nickname 1T. Some people call me Mr. Scott, or you can call me Scott. I'm pretty easygoing about that. My email is scottsmith@dallascollege.edu. My phone number is 972-677-8940. So if you want to have a conversation, give me a call at that phone number. You can text me there, but I have had some issues with getting those in a timely manner, so you might be better served if you're doing it in writing to email me. My office is J127. Our class meets in the K building, and it's real close to my office there. And I will be finalizing office hours in the first week or two. We can discuss that in class. Let's see, the division office, this is their information if you need to get a hold of them for any reason. Let's look at the course information. Oops, I'm going to have to move this. Alright, so we've talked about this is college algebra, also known as Math 1314. Our section number, which identifies our specific class, is 22,400. Of course, this is the spring of 2023. We meet Mondays and Wednesdays from 9:30 to 10:50, and then 11 to 12:20. The certification date this semester is January 30th, and the last day to withdraw is April 13th if for some reason you have to withdraw this semester. I would just encourage you, if you do withdraw at some point, I hope that you'll talk to me. Sometimes students don't think they're doing worse than they really are, so it's always a good idea to talk to your instructor anytime you want to drop. Also, if you're getting any kind of financial aid, or you're a veteran and you've got some kind of relationship there, you want to make sure you talk to the people, the appropriate people when you drop. Sometimes students will just disappear in a semester and they come back a couple of semesters later and they realize they're on academic probation. So make sure you take care of things the right way and hopefully avoid any problems in the future. I mean, you never know what's going to happen in the next couple of years, so it's always a good idea to withdraw the correct way. The other thing I would just add is we'll talk more about the certification date in just a few minutes. That's all I have to say about that page. So on the second page, you see there's a course description. You can read through that. Student learning outcomes. These are the things we want you to be able to do. And then there's the Texas core objectives. These are things that the state requires us to work on in our programs, and things like critical thinking skills and teamwork. So these are the kinds of things we want to promote at the college, so you'll see those in all your courses. You can read those on your own. Let's go ahead and move on to the next page. So when you take a course at Dallas College, you're going to get your learning materials through what's called the Include-Ed program. Now in the past, people would try to get better deals on their materials, but I found that there's really no reason to opt out of the Include Ed program. The prices are very good, and we strongly discourage opting out. It leads to more problems than anything, and doesn't really save any money anymore. This is the text that we're going to be using. Notice it's a Beecher book, but basically what you're paying for is my math lab, which is currently called My Lab Math. The old name is My Math Lab. And so you're getting a copy, I should say a digital copy of the book with the program. And in My Math Lab, that's where you're going to be doing all your assignments. And so you're really just paying for that software. The other thing you're going to need is a graphing calculator. Now notice this is not part of the Include Ed program, but you can go to the library and rent them for the semester, and honestly there's not even any cost, so it's first come first serve, so you're going to want to get over there as soon as possible. Sometimes you may have friends or family members that have a calculator. If you're planning to take additional math courses like trigonometry and calculus, you really ought to have your own calculator, but if you just need one for the semester to get through this course, I would recommend you go to the library if you don't have one. So the TI-84 is the one that I'll be using in class. And let's see. And we'll look at that when we're in class. So you're also going to need a computer, obviously, with reliable internet service, because you're going to have a lot of work that you'll be doing on your assignments, and you probably can't do it all at school, so it's important to have your own computer at home. So let's see, it talks here about how to get started in My Lab Math. It's really quite simple. It's just a matter of opening up the software, and then I think you have to agree to their license, and then you're on your way. So those are the directions, and I'll be doing a video tour of eCampus in my math lab, and in that I'll go through all that. Now as far as graded work is concerned, you can see homework is 16% of your grade. The quizzes are 8%, tests are 56%. There's 7 tests, so each one is basically 8% of your grade, and then the final is 20%. So that's the total of 100%. Let's move on to the next page. Of course, your final grade in college algebra is going to be according to the basics or the general scale. 90 to 100% is an A, and so on. Of course, a C is 70 to 79%. Anything below that is not considered passing. Notice how we're going to determine the final grade for DMAT 0315. So notice what it says. Students who finish out the semester will earn the higher of the following 2 grades. The student's course average for work through test 5, so basically your grade after test 5, or what you get as a final average for Math 1314. And the other thing is, if you earn a D in Math 1314, then that will earn you a passing grade in 0315, DMAT 0315. So basically, excuse me, obviously you want to pass both courses the first time you take this course, of these 2 courses together. But if for some reason you come up short on college algebra, it is possible that you could pass the DMAT part so that the next time you retake it, you don't have to retake both courses. So that's a very minimum thing to shoot for. Description of graded work. So for homework, basically we're going to have homework for each section that we cover in class, and it'll give you an opportunity to practice what you've learned and make sure you know how to do the problems. The nice thing about my math lab is you get immediate feedback, and you're going to know if you're doing the problems right or wrong. And if you get it wrong, you're going to have access to a detailed solution. I just want to point out a couple of things, though. I think it's very important that as you're doing the material or your homework, it's really important to write your work out on paper and some kind of a notebook. Writing things out, for one thing, helps most people learn the material. But the other thing is when you take your quizzes or when you're preparing for a test, you can go back and look at notes that you've made. Like for me, in my notes, I used to write things like, problems that I had questions about, or I made a note of certain things I didn't want to forget. And so those are the kinds of things you can do. And but the other thing is sometimes students get a false sense of security when they're working in my math lab because they're working through the homework, they're getting 100%, but at the same time they're clicking on the help buttons that are in my math lab and for almost every problem, or sometimes every problem. And ideally what you want to see happen is hopefully what we do in class will prepare you for the homework, or most of the homework. And so when you're doing the homework, it should be very similar to what we did in class. And so hopefully you understand the material from class, you're doing the problems, but if you find yourself clicking on the help buttons, that's just an indication that you still haven't learned the material. So just be careful about that. It's very possible to get 100% on your homeworks, but the big thing you need to be asking yourself is, am I learning this? It's very important. Now, as far as quizzes, they help you to basically recognize and complete problems from multiple sections, and they're a good indication of whether or not you're learning the material. You can take each quiz up to 2 times, and I'll use your highest score. And notice they are timed. And then as far as tests are concerned, we talked about how there's 7. 8% is the value of each test. And I do want to point out that the tests are going to be taken in the academic testing center outside of class time. One of the reasons why I do that is it gives you, when you go there, you have plenty of time to take your test. When we try to do it in class, it just ends up being rushed, and it makes it more difficult to get through the material in the course. So when we get to the first test, we'll talk about how that's going to work. Let's see, the final exam, we talked about how it's 20% of your grade. It's a comprehensive 25-question multiple choice test. The other thing I would point out here is if your homework average is 80% on the homework at the end of the semester, I will replace your lowest test score with what you get on the final. In general, it's a great idea to have at least an 80% average on your homework anyway. Extra credit on the tests. Let's talk about that because I'm sure you'll be interested in that. So for each test, this doesn't include the final, but for each test you'll have an opportunity to earn up to 5 extra credit points by doing a review in my math lab for a test. So for test 1, we'll do an in-class test review for the first test, but then there's also the one that's online in my math lab. So those are the ones that you do if you want to earn some extra credit points. It also gives you an opportunity to practice more of the things that we did in class. You'll notice that if you got 90 to 100% on the assignment, you get 5 points. All the way down to 70 to 74%, you get 1 point. Let's talk about the late work policy. Basically, for homework and quizzes, the first thing I would say is if you want to be successful in the course, you should make every effort to get these done on time. But if for some reason you get an assignment done late, the penalty will be 25% off. So generally speaking, if you are late, you don't want to be, like for all the assignments for test 1, you want to have all those assignments done before you take your test. Now you'll be able to go back and do things after test 1, But the problem is we move quite quickly in the course, so you really don't want to be in a position where you're going back to complete assignments that you did late. So really just encourage you to make every effort to get those assignments done on time. Notice that the test reviews can't be taken late, because remember, those are the ones you're getting extra credit for. And also with tests, you need to make sure that you're taking the tests by the due dates. And if there's some reason why that doesn't happen, you want to contact me immediately, particularly if there's some kind of special circumstances. But normally if you miss a test, you can't retake that, or you can't take it at a later date. Communication. So it's really important, and it's not just for my course, but for all your courses, that whenever, I'll just put it this way, whenever instructors put out an announcement in eCampus, you're automatically going to get an email at your school account, which is through eConnect. So it's really important that your eConnect email address is correct. So you want to make sure that that's correct, that you're getting those emails from your instructors. And the other thing I would encourage you to do is, if you haven't set it up so that it goes to your smartphone, I would encourage you to do that. You can maybe talk to another student in the class, or you can call the IT people. But it's good to be getting those emails right to your phone. That's how I get my emails. And that way you're less likely to miss information that your instructors are sending out. We talked about how to talk with me as far as my phone number and other contact information. If you send me an email, it's always a good idea to let me know which class you're in. I have many classes, and sometimes it's hard to figure out who's trying to get a hold of me. Okay, let's talk about attendance and participation. We were talking earlier about getting certified. In order to be certified, you have to attend class at least once the first 2 weeks and begin working on assignments in my math lab. That's really very little to be considered participating, but that is the minimum requirement. Failure to be certified may affect any financial aid that you receive. So keep in mind, this is the minimum requirement. If you look at our schedule, you'll see that by January 29th, the day before the certification day, you should be done with your assignments up through 2.7. So you can see that this truly is a very minimum in order to be certified, but you really want to be on track with the assignments. Let's see, we talked about maintaining an average of at least 80% on the homework and the quizzes. It's a little bit harder to do it on the quizzes, but certainly very doable on the homework. But it's a good thing to shoot for 80%. If you haven't read the institutional policies before, everybody should be aware of what's in there. You should read them at least once, and talks about things like tutoring, disability services, dropping or repeating classes, and a bunch of other stuff. So encourage you to make sure you read those. And I think that's about all I wanted to show you on the syllabus. Let's look at our schedule. So I always tell students to print out the syllabus and the schedule, but certainly the schedule is the most important thing. Because if you have your schedule handy, you're going to know every week exactly what's expected. So you can see the first week, we've got 1.1 and 1.3. There's a quiz for those two sections, then 1.4 through 1.6, and another quiz. Now, we don't have class on the first Monday, and so it makes it very difficult starting this course off. So we're going to get through as much of this as we can in the first day, and you can see we already have 7 sections the second week, and so it's going to make things a little bit rough the first couple of weeks. But you can see everything from week 1 is due Sunday the January 22nd, and then the second week January 29th. And I may need to make some adjustments here, but it'll depend on how we do in class. One of the reasons why it took me so long to get this course going this semester is I made a lot of adjustments in here. I'm hoping it's going to make things easier to get through that first 2 weeks. You can see that our first test is going to be in week 3. The deadline for that test is Friday, February 3rd. And so again, when we get to that point, we'll do an in-class review. There's an opportunity to get extra credit points by doing the review for test 1 in my math lab. And anyway, I think that's just about all I have to say for now. So the other thing I would mention is these deadlines are also in my math lab as you're working, so you'll see the dates there as well. So it should make it pretty easy to know what to expect throughout the course, what we're doing each week. But anytime you have questions, make sure you ask. That's what I'm here for. All right, that's going to be it for this video.